UgCS 6.0 is here. This update introduces the ability to plan out large projects as well as magnetic surveys. In this video, I'll try to walk you through exactly what is new and what it brings for your operations. Until now, planning out large-scale drone projects was difficult. Not only you had to rely on multiple different programs to do that, but for example, making sure that survey lines match up between different areas was difficult. And if you had to match up survey lines with some historic surveys, also this was a challenge to do. But now with UgCS 6.0, we bring it all in the same project. Now on the screen you should see different new features that we are releasing with this new version of UgCS. So these will be things such as, firstly, of course, the ability to plan out large projects, ability to now use tie lines for magnetic surveys, ability to set separate takeoff points for the survey. Now with UgCS 6.0, you can also set the parameters for the whole project, and these same parameters will be applied to each of the sub areas. But the sub areas can still be exported into waypoints and can be also customized separately if you choose to. You'll also see a report where you can see the data from all the sub areas, which of course includes the flight time, the total distance, and so on. But yeah, now let's jump into the software and I'll show you exactly how the workflow looks like, and feel free to follow along. And of course, we'll have chapter markers, so if you want, you can also skip to a chapter that you are more interested in seeing. So right now we are already inside of UgCS 6.0. And so far, everything might look very normal to you and might look exactly how you are used to. So, but now let's go here to projects, which by the way, also one new change is that now missions have been renamed into projects. So firstly, let's start off by clicking here on Create New Project. And now this is usually the window you saw when you were creating a new mission. And if you just click on Create here, then you will see the normal workflow that you have already been used to. So this isn't gone anywhere. You can still plan out normal missions inside here. Now, if we again go here and select Create New Project, now you can see that under size parameter, there are two. So either you can create a regular project, which is what you have been used to up until now, but now this new feature is large projects. So make sure that the size is set to large if you want to use this feature. Now we can enter some name for it. For example, we can call it Magnetic Survey. Now let's click here on Create. And here you can see the list of different drone profiles that are available. But for the purposes of this demonstration, I'll simply use the DJI M350. Now click on Select. And now you can see the text shows us to either double click to add the outline points or to import from a KML or KMZ file. In this case, I will simply manually create it, but if you have a KML file, such as the borders of the whole area, then also feel free to use that. So let me zoom into some area where I want to plan this survey. So for example, let's say we want to fly over this whole area. And now I can simply either double click or hold down the Shift button and click and mark out the large area that I want to survey. So let's, for example, use an area like this. Now you can see we are being prompted to add a takeoff location. The minimum amount of takeoff locations for a project like this is 1, but you can also add multiple, and then later on you will be able to assign a takeoff location for each sub area. Now let's zoom in to where we want to add our takeoff location, and let's, for example, add one takeoff location here. And if we want, we can add a few more. So for example, we can click here on Add Takeoff Location, and let's say we can maybe add one here and one over here. So now you can see we have this one project, and for the project, we actually only have one sub area right now. Now, you might also notice what's different is that now there are these 4 different sections here on the side. First, we have the project section. This is where you set the common parameters for the whole project. Next, we have the section for the sub areas, and this is where you can set takeoff points for each sub area. Next, we have the takeoff points, and so this is where you can actually add and remove takeoff points. And last but not least, we have the report. So in the report section, you will see all of your sub areas. But now it's time to divide this whole project into sub areas. So to do that, here on the left side, you see we have the cut tool. This is the new tool that was added for UgCS 6.0. So now let's select that. And now basically what you do is you add one point and then another point, and then using this, you'll have the cut line, which will then cut the whole project. For example, I can now click here, and then you can see I have this line that's following the mouse cursor. Now I can click here and you can now see it's also color coded that now we have already 2 sub areas. And I can keep doing this. So for example, I can add another cut line over here. Let's add another one here. And then let me do a few more. Maybe I can also go this way. So for example, I can add one line like that and another one here. Now, so this is how you cut the areas into various smaller areas. If you want to remove one of these cut lines, then what you do is you can simply right-click on any of these lines and you can select remove. And now you can see that this line between these sub-areas has been removed. So now you can see we have this whole project that's now cut into sub-areas. And in the report section, you can see we have the total number of 12 sub-areas. You can see the area size for each of them. You can see the flight time and as well as the distance. Now, what you might notice that as I have now this large project, which is split into sub-areas, you might notice that now these survey lines, they're actually matching up between the sub-areas. And this is very important to be able to cover very large areas with different sensors. But I suggest now, let's maybe kind of take a step back and go to the overall project parameters. And now let's just go through them to see what can you adjust. So firstly, of course, we have the flight height in meters or feet, depending on which unit of measurement you're using. Next, we have the flight speed. So here as well, for example, we can set this slightly faster, something like 8 meters per second. Next is the side distance, which is the distance between the survey lines. Then we have the turn type. This I will set to adaptive bank turn. Then it's followed by the altitude mode. So in this case, I can set this to either AGL or Smart AGL or whichever one I prefer. In this case, I'll set this to Smart AGL altitude mode. And now also we have parameters here under the advanced settings. And now I'll take you through which are the most important ones here. So firstly, there's the corner radius. This already we've covered in previous videos. There's the AGL tolerance. But what's really important specifically for large projects is the overshoot and the overlap. So now I'll try to cover both of these. So firstly, you can see that currently among the sub areas, these lines of one sub area end exactly where we have the lines of the next sub area. Now, the thing is, very often when you plan out missions like this for magnetic surveys or any other type of geophysical surveys, you will want there to be some form of overlap between these. So now I'll use the overshoot parameter to make one area slightly overshoot into the other one. So for example, I can set the overshoot parameter to 50 meters. And now you can see that each of these areas, they're kind of intertwined, so to say. So now you can see that both of the areas now have the overshoot parameter enabled and that both of them slightly extend beyond their borders. And now if we go to the borders of the project itself, you can see the same thing. Even though here there is no other area, you can still see that these lines, they go now slightly outside of the boundaries of the project. Also, for the overshoots, what you can do is you can set the overshoot speed separately. So for example, if you're using something like a Geometrics Magaro, or if you're using any type of sensor that is hanging and doesn't have a solid mount, you usually want the drone to fly a bit slower when it is flying in these segments. So for that, you can, for example, set the overshoot parameter to something like, let's say, 2 meters per second. And now you can see that the overall flight speed will be set to 8 meters per second. But when the drone will enter the overshoot segments, it will fly at 2 meters per second. Now, you might also notice that we have the overlap parameter. And I'll explain now the difference between overshoot and overlap. Because in general, they are very similar. But the difference is that when you use the overlap, let's, for example, set this to 100 meters. Now you can see that here where the areas are bordering one another, they look very similar to how they did when we were using the overshoot parameter. While at the same time, if we go here to the border, now you can see that the behavior here is different. So on the very border of the whole polygon, the overlap actually doesn't extend beyond this border. So this just gives you a possibility to choose either between using overshoot or overlap, whichever one you prefer based on how you want it to look like on the borders of the area. And the next new parameter is the tie line interval. So whenever you're doing magnetic work or bathymetry or different types of geophysical surveys, very often you will need to use what's called tie lines or check lines. The terms are different, but basically the idea is the same. You have your main survey grid, and then you have some perpendicular lines which are crossing the main grid, which are basically used to ensure that the data is correct and that the data is consistent. So idea is that on the points where the tile lines are crossing the survey lines, the data values should match up. And now with UgCS 6.0, we are introducing the ability to add tile lines. For example, now you can see the tile line interval is set to 5. So what does this mean exactly? So this number basically means for how many survey lines should one tile line be inserted. So for example, you can see that if it's set to 5, then if the spacing between survey lines is, let's say, 500 meters, then every 500 meters you will have this perpendicular tile line. For example, to also maybe demonstrate this a bit better, if I set the tile line interval to 1, now you can see we have a perfectly square grid. So for every survey line, there is one tile line. Or also, in case you do not want to use tile lines, if you are doing some sort of survey where it's not really needed, or you just don't use it in your workflow, you can simply remove this parameter, and now you can see that there are no tile lines in this survey, so we only have normal survey lines. But for now, let's set this back. So for example, I'll set this back to 5. Now, the next parameter I want to show you is the shift right parameter. Sometimes, especially when doing magnetic surveys, it's necessary to make sure to match up some historical survey. So for example, you can now see where we have these lines and where we have the actual flight lines. So in some cases, you might want to move the actual survey lines slightly lower or slightly higher. So this is where this parameter comes in. For example, if I set this to 20, so now this will shift all of these lines by 20 meters. For example, now you can observe where we have this waypoint of this survey line. So the whole line now has shifted down by 20 meters. Or if, for example, you want to do this in the other way, then also you can set this to, for example, minus 20, and you can set this in the opposite direction. So basically, this gives you the ability to fine-tune the flight parameters by allowing the software to shift the flight lines exactly where you need them to be. But now, next important thing is setting the takeoff locations. So like I mentioned earlier, you can set multiple takeoff locations for the project. Now, as you go to the sub-area section, now you can see that I can set takeoff location for each of the sub-areas. So now I can either choose one of the takeoff locations which I already have, so either A, B, or C, or if I want to, I can just click here and I can set add new takeoff location, and then I can just go to the map where I want to add it, and you can see this now has been added here and is automatically set for this sub-area. Now I can choose this sub-area here. You can see I have takeoff location A, and that's fine. Now let's select this one. Again, we have takeoff location A. Maybe location B actually would be a bit better, so I can just set this in the drop-down list, and it will be recalculated with this takeoff location in mind. And then basically you can go through all of these sub-areas in this exact manner. So either you can select one of the takeoff locations which are already there, you can select the takeoff location closer to the sub-area, or if there's no takeoff locations nearby, then you can also set a takeoff location separately. For this one, I think I'll simply choose takeoff location C. So for this one, I'll select takeoff location B. For this sub-area, you can see takeoff location A is a bit too far away, so we can just select B. Okay, and now you can see that for each of these sub-areas, we have a takeoff location set. We have all the project parameters set. So basically now what's left for us to do is we can go here, we can check the project settings. If maybe some of the sub-areas are still a bit too large, we can, of course, change their size. We can still split them, change the dimensions. Also, what's important is that you can still use the elevation profile. So not only can you see these parameters through the report section, but you can also select any of the sub-areas and then you can open up the elevation profile. Now, the elevation profile gives you a lot more information and a lot more detailed information specifically on how the drone will exactly fly. So for example, you can see where the drone will be, at what altitude it will be over the ground, and so on. So this is very important information that you must take into account. So you can, for example, click through different sub-areas and then you can see exactly how the elevation profile looks like. And if you want to see some area in more detail, you can just mouse over here and this will show you that exact part of the route, because you can see there's also this little slider here on the route itself. Make sure to go through all of these areas, ensure that the flight altitude is safe before you are ready to go. And now one more thing is that in case you want to have some more fine-tuned control over any of the sub-areas, So what UgCS allows you to do is you can just go here into the kind of settings menu of one of the sub areas, and you can select export to waypoints. So here you can, for example, add a new project, and you can now see that in this project now I have this sub area which is split into waypoints. So in case you want to have some more fine-tuned control, you can always convert any of the sub areas into waypoints, and this is where you can have more control. And okay, so now basically once the whole survey is planned out, once you're happy with how it looks like, then it's time to upload it to the drone and go flying. So here there's multiple ways how you can get it into your drone. So number one is if you have a UgCS cloud account, then it will simply sync up to your cloud account and you'll be able to access it in DJI Pilot 2. To enable UgCS Cloud, you just need to go here up in the top bar, and then in here you can just sign into your cloud account, do the same on your DJI Pilot 2, and the routes will sync up automatically. We have a separate video on our channel on how to use UgCS Cloud, so make sure to check that out. Also, if you want to connect directly from DJI Pilot 2, if you want to see the drone here in UgCS, you can also of course do so. And then when you will have the drone connected, then any of these sub areas, you can simply select them as you did before with normal routes, and you can upload it directly to the drone. That is if you want to also use this in the field. And third option is you can also use our companion app with which you can then connect your drone directly to UgCS and upload the route, or you can also sync it offline. We have actually separate videos on how to do all of this, so make sure to check those out. What's also important is that UgCS 6.0 supports all drones that we are supporting normally. So this also includes drones based on Autopilot and PX4 platforms, as well as DJI. So all the drones which you have been able to use so far, you can still use with UgCS 6.0 and large projects. UgCS 6.0 will improve flight planning in a lot of different industries, such as minerals exploration, mining, oil and gas, and many others. So to use the large projects tool in UgCS 6.0, you need at least the expert license. Also, this month we'll do a webinar on UgCS 6.0, so if you're interested in that, link down in the description below and you can sign up. In the webinar, you'll be able to ask me questions live, as well as see a live demonstration of UgCS 6.0. By the time this video is out, UgCS 6.0 will already be available on our website. Link to download is in the description below. Make sure to update your license so you have access to the latest features. And in case you have some questions, leave them down in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching and see you in the next one.